Good morning, world. Good morning, world. I wonder if anyone is out there at the moment or if you can hear me. I can't quite tell if I'm doing this right. This always happens right at the beginning. I'll just hang out for a few minutes and wait to see if people arrive. Hi, Andrea. Hi, Pal. You guys are the only ones here. That's awesome. Okay, so yes, I think it looks like there's a few people joining here, so that's awesome. I can't really tell. I can only see numbers, so I can't really tell who you are, but yeah, thanks for joining. I just thought I would, yeah, I haven't done a live event, live hangout in ages. And I thought it would be a good idea to kind of just catch up with you guys and see what was going on, well, with you, and also let you know about a few updates that are happening on my end. We've had a really fun ride with the launch of the new book and this new series, Wild Moms. Oh, darn, I meant to have a copy to hold up. But anyway, many of you have been asking about how you can get signed copies of the book. And hey, Nicole, hi. So if you want signed copies of the book, we actually have a special announcement coming up about that. Well, maybe right now. There have been a lot of changes on Facebook that have happened in the last several months, maybe the last 5-6 months, where sort of small to mid-sized pages like mine, sort of in the 50 to 350,000 range, we've been just noticing a great big squeeze from Facebook. It's been really difficult to get new likes and have people engaging with our content. And basically, there's almost a bit of a chokehold that Facebook is placing, unfortunately, over smaller science content pages, which is really brutal because, we're not necessarily doing this to make a really lucrative living from the beginning. So it's been one of the reasons I've held off doing another live event. We're just kind of trying to wait for things to shake down and see if Facebook does changes things back to a way that makes it a little bit more sustainable for those of us with smaller pages to get things going. But in the meantime, I've been kicking around with a few other ideas of things that I can possibly do. And one of those is opening a little shop on my website. I've had lots of people ask, as I said earlier, for signed copies of the books, but I also have a ton of cool ideas for things that that are actually going in the shop, not just signed copies of the books in different languages too. A lot of the sort of more difficult versions to get are available now on my website, of all, like the weird Slovenian copies or Polish ones or whatever. Also stickers and autograph cards and cool, fun, just, I don't know, we're just trying, we're basically just, making an attempt to try something new and interesting with biology content. So have a look at the shop. It's going to be basically open very soon on my website, just a little link on my website. And consider supporting me through doing those kinds of things. Hey, Donnie, yes, t-shirts are on there. I have a couple of fun little designs that I've illustrated myself, and they go with some biology quotes. Yeah, just kind of quirky little things that we have going on. The other thing that I'm going to be doing is making a members-only content area in my website. And that, I feel, is maybe a good way for me to connect with people who are very interested in the kind of content that I make. So there will be specific blog posts or different shares of things that are going on with me, and basically just an area outside of Facebook that my fans and people who enjoy the things that I do can connect with me. And again, it's unfortunately due due to the fact that Facebook is just choking us out. That's unfortunate. I'll still be here without question. Obviously nobody's going to leave Facebook, but there's just, maybe got to be a way for everybody to be able to make it a little bit more sustainable for themselves. And so, the members only section is going to be really amazing. It'll have just some members only content, my own drawings, my own musings, all that kind of cool stuff. Chats like this, places, times where we can sort of have more one-on-one kinds of conversations. You can ask things, et cetera, et cetera. So those were kind of my main announcements. I actually also wanted to see if there was interest in starting up a Wild Moms book club, because I know a lot of people have questions relating to not only material that they're reading about in the book, but also how that relates to their own experience as moms or with their moms. And so, I'm definitely thinking that would be a fun thing to get started, little Wild Moms book club. And I had a couple of people send in questions for me, so I thought I would just answer a couple of those as we're going. Oh, hey there, Dale from Alabama. Everybody, cool. It's great to see everybody this morning. 9 o'clock here in British Columbia. So somebody actually asked about the Leonardo DiCaprio beetle, because that's something that made sort of global headlines. The work that I do with a company called Taxon Expeditions, we take citizen scientists out to remote areas of the world. This particular beetle was found in Borneo, in the Malayau Basin region. This is the Sabah region of Malaysian Borneo. And people just sort of asked about what that's like. How did you find the Leonardo DiCaprio beetle? And, it's not quite as exciting as all that sounds. Basically, freshwater sampling for a lot of different creatures is very methodical, and you have to be quite conscientious about the ways that you do it so that you don't damage creatures or damage structures that could be very important to identify the creatures later. And so we do a lot of collecting, we do a lot of sampling in different kinds of environments. It's really important to always keep in mind and also make note of the kind of characteristics of the environment that are around. So if you happen to collect a beetle in a certain area or any kind of animal, is it fast running? Is it aquatic? Is it terrestrial? Is it fast running? Is it a still pool? Are there wood resources around? What kind of, or is it algae based, et cetera, et cetera. And so we found a lot of these animals that we would then take back to the lab, key them out, and go through very meticulous descriptions of their morphologies, their appendages, their mouth parts, and things like that. And then we would realize or not realize that what we had collected was something totally new. And when we did realize that what we have is something that's not been named or identified before, we are then free and clear to name it whatever we want. There's one stipulation, which is you're not allowed to name a creature after yourself. So if you are the scientist with the new creature, you are not allowed to say, oh, this is now the Carin beetle. I would have loved to have done that, but I guess maybe that would be what everybody's idea would be. So I think Leonardo's name came up because he is very, very active in a lot of conservation efforts. And it's often great when there's sort of someone who bridges the gaps between something that's really, he does a lot of obviously pop culture and movies, and he's extremely popular, and bringing some of that popularity over to, animals and ways of life that aren't quite as popular as Hollywood movies, like beetle taxonomy. Yay, beetle taxonomy. So basically that's it. You've got to, if you're naming it after a person, it helps if you have a good explanation for why. You can name it after a place, and there are different ways that you end the word, whether you end it with a double I or whether you end it with an OI or whatever. All those kinds of things you have to take into account when you're naming. And then, you just publish it. And if you are, if your publication is accepted by a major taxonomy journal, then that's it. And forever the world has your new species. And so that's how we're doing it with a lot of those beetles that we're finding. And, it helps, I guess, for media representation and coverage to name it after someone famous. But it's certainly not necessary. You can name it whatever you want. We've named them after, oh gosh, our, Squadorum was our slug, semi-slug that we named. They called themselves the Slug Squad, and so they wanted to name it so you can really call it a species anything you want. When I'm making up, or when I'm sort of lecturing about how to name species, I'll often ask people to make a bit of a philosophical connection between how they're wanting to call their species and what we're really going to do. So maybe they have an author that they like, or a particular text or a particular song, movie. I try to kind of be a little bit more abstract in terms of the ways that I get people to name. So for example, I love Margaret Atwood. She's one of my very favorite authors. So we might take one of her books, obviously the most common one just now is The Handmaid's Tale. So we might say Handmaiden Beetle, or you know what I mean? Just basically kind of abstracting through the process of how you might name something creatively and interestingly, and not simply just, red beetle with 2 stripes. Although arguably you can do that too. So another question that I got is, how do I think of new episodes for the animated series that I write? So I have a couple of series that are on Seeker right now. One of them is Wild Moms and one of them is Wild Sex. And those are really fun things to write and do. How does that break down? I have so many ideas for cool biology stories that I can tell. I mean, I sort of never run out. So what I'll usually do is we'll make those episodes in sets of 10, and I will just pitch many ideas of cool things that I think will make a nice episode story. And something to keep in mind when you are writing a science story, but when you're writing any kind of story. But science, this is something that a lot of science storytellers don't actually know, which is to really keep it interesting on a level that people are going to relate to. And so it's not quite as straightforward as you might think to sort of be like, okay, well, these animals meet and have sex, and that's what happens. I mean, that's kind of boring. Or this animal gets pregnant and then has a baby and is a mom. Like, it's just not quite as interesting as finding some kind of cool arc to actually allow the story to continue. So I will pitch maybe 30 or 40 ideas for things that I think I could develop into cool stories, things that I know about animals. This one does this quirky thing, or this one does that quirky thing. And then they'll come back to me with things that they think they can animate, not easily, but animate without too much extra cost, I guess, and drama. And then we'll go back and forth on wording quite a bit. I have a great production team there at Seeker that really allows me to kind of have my own voice with respect to how the episodes come out, which is, I think is really important, because that's, it's the material that I'm coming up with. My voice is really important there. But also, of course, it has to be within a certain time frame, and it has to tick all of the boxes with respect to how a science episode should go. Because after all, even though we are being funny and creative and quirky and amazing, we're also actually talking about science, which is probably, the coolest thing about it. So the last question that somebody sent to me, which is what other projects do I have coming up? And well, that's a great question. As a freelancer, it's always a little bit jarring when the jobs, your next set of jobs kind of runs out, and you are forced to kind of look in the mirror and existentially ponder like how you're going to make a living for the next decade or year or whatever it is. But I have a couple of, okay, cool. Thanks for that, Paul. I have a couple of cool things coming down the pipeline. I have another book that I'm writing, which is something really different for me. I'm writing a new book about Human nature and connectedness in the way that we communicate and the way that we are compatible with one another. Because I've thought a lot, and I continue to think a lot about the differences between humans and other primates, and of course all other mammals, but the distinctions between humans and all other primates. And I think that there's some ways that we can examine that question and then sort of spin that question back to how we can do better for ourselves. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of compatibility issues that humanity is currently suffering from. And I think I have sort of figured out a way to seamlessly and fairly straightforwardly allow us to figure out how we might go about approaching relationships and compatibility in a more straightforward way. I don't know. It's a biologist's approach to psychology, I guess, is the short answer. So I'm working on that. I had a great existentialist biologist. Yep, you got that right. So I have that going on, and I've been working actually also with Viking quite a bit. So I did that. I was on their inaugural world cruise back in April, lecturing on board from Chennai, India to Aqaba, Jordan. Had an amazing time on board and actually was able to lecture about all kinds of really, really amazing things like, oh my God, mutualisms in the Red Sea and the Sepsian migrations across the Suez Canal, just all kinds of totally enlightening and interesting topics to lecture about. So I will be going again with Viking this coming November. I'll be doing a cruise from Miami to LA through the Panama Canal and a lot of Latin American countries, and then I will be going to the Caribbean, the West Indies in January. So yeah, a couple travels. Hey, Mike hey, Matthew. Cool. Yeah, I know, right? It's been a while since I've done a live chat. So yeah, I've got some travel coming up. I've got another hopefully interesting book coming up. And then of course I would love to keep going with all the cool stuff that we have working with wild moms, because that's been obviously that's a huge passion project for me. And I would love to, yeah, as I was saying sort of towards the beginning of this chat, just be able to sort of circumvent some of the issues that Facebook is giving to smallish pages, because our audiences are just not finding our content on Facebook. And so, yep, I've just been given word the shop on my website is now open. Yay, don't spend all your money at once, guys. But seriously, do. No, but anyway, it's hopefully, you know, we're giving it a try, and we're going to see if it's a way that might be a sustainable way to engage with my audiences and sort of to grow together in a way sort of back on my own website, not so much depending on this platform, although this is a great platform. Okay, well, I guess I've run out of all of the questions. Does anybody else have any more questions? I've gotten quite a few cool comments and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of everything I wanted to say today. And I'd like to come maybe make Thursday mornings a good a time to chat with everyone. Feedback is great. I'd love to know what people think, what people would want, whether this is a good time for you, what kinds of things you would like to chat about, anything like that. I would be very grateful to have your feedback as we're kind of just moving through these changes. Cool. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.